Welcome back to Mixing Machines. On today's episode, it's going to be the one where we're going to be driving my 64 panel. But before we do that, we have a couple things to do and get a running off road fuel tank. But before that, we're going to do a little review of everything we've done to her. So we put together the engine. When we got it was missing valve covers, intake, manifold, and carburetor. So got all that. We got distributor and everything in it, spark plug wires for it. All the green pretty much has been replaced. New radiator hoses and everything. Redid all the wall wiring, put a new wiring harness in it. So everything's all wired up and ready. And from there we did the front brakes. We got rims we got the axle and tires. So it has new brakes all the way around. Got a new braking line for it. Then we replaced the rear end. Yeah, so I'm ready to put fuel in it. You see, the wire's not finished yet. I'll show you when it's done later. Other than that, the last thing I gotta do is put some fuel in the tank and hook up the fuel lines. But before you do that, I gotta show you what's wrong with that. So let me show you there. Bottom, you can see that this here is my fuel line. So you can see it there, rubbing on the exhaust, put on top of the exhaust there, goes up to a rubber hose up top, on top of the fuel tank. So I'm going to be rerunning that. Fixing that up and tying it up so I don't have any issues. This is the original fuel line right here. That runs along and up and over. And I'm guessing that was plugged, so that's why they took that off and put this one on in. But you can see the way they had it set up is interesting, to the least. You know, you usually don't want your fuel line and your exhaust right next to each other. Or at least on top of each other, touching, rubbing. Because that's just a bad time if you spring a leak. Yeah, so we gotta fix up the fuel line. After that, I'm ready to put fuel in her, and I didn't show it, but I did. My fuel lines got them tucked up nicely. A lot better than what they were. They're no longer dangling around anymore. They're zip tied up, so we're good there. I'll give you a little peek real quick. Let's see what it looks like. You can see in there. So I took out the old one. The new one, the newish one, back in its place. So here we are. So that goes in my tank. Do a fuel up montage. You gotta have a fuel pouring montage. We're out of fuel. No more fuel pouring montage. Alright, so fuel's all topped off, and let's go see if we can get it running off the tank. Here we go. Alright, a little haterade and here we go. Alright, so I'm getting to fire up putting a little gas in the carburetor. I'm getting fuel line and everything to the fuel, so I'm checking my fuel filter, which is my little glass one. Since it's an old glass one, I'm seeing if it leaks or anything and what it does. So I have to get a fuel filter, and I'll be right back after I get that. Alright, took a little bit, but she fired right up. Alrighty, so all ready to start. We're going to see if she rolls on her own and make sure everything works pretty well. After that, we're going to take her out on the street. But my auto had some major issues. It doesn't sound very good, so what you hear of the truck is what you hear of the truck. It's the audio, not what the truck sounds like. It's been a few days. So when I filmed the rest of it was Friday. Actually, it was Thursday. And then after that day, Friday, I went to the DMV to get it all registered and paid and everything. Well, it's Thursday again, but I finally got it done after dealing with DMV for several days. Because they're a useless place like always. I finally got my plates. I got my stickers, and then we're going to put them on. And with that, we're finally road legal, so we can go driving. First thing we're going to go to is the gas station, get some gas. Because I only put about 10 gallons in, I don't know how much it's going to take. And after that, we're going to go over to Napa. As long as it's all smooth going and no real issues, we're going to get some new gauges for it. A little bouncy there. No, definitely not going to the gas station. Alright, so that test drive was a failure. Got to the corner, as you heard the tire screech. That was my rear right tire locking up. But my front brakes weren't really working that much at all, nor my left rear tire wasn't really working that much. So what I did was re-bleed them, readjust them, and that's in the background. My brother just fired up his truck outside. Definitely a loud one. Alright, so we're all ready. Brakes are all fixed again, and we're going to go take a cruise down to Napa and get us some new gauges. So, off we go. Or not. Alright, so right here, if you see a little dip coming up, this one little spot is my first obstacle I have in this truck. So when I pull up here, I stop at the sign. Now everything stops smoothly, it's all working great, brakes are good. And I'm trying to put it in first here. So I roll it back a little bit, trying to put it in first, and it won't go. So I sit there, try to do it, light turns green. Everything, I'm just having a major problem trying to put it back in first. Because it won't go back into first gear. With it having pressure on the back, it won't go back in first gear. So I sit there for minutes and then I get going again. Yeah, so I want to take off in second. I was locked out of first gear. I had to let the cars go past me that were behind me. I had to roll the truck backwards into the level surface again in order to put it back into first gear. So I'm just watching out for people behind me, make sure there's no one there, rolling back. See, I roll back on the dip. And I'm able to put in a first gear there and pull back out. Alright, so here, I get back in first gear. I can start rolling forward again. Drives great again. I have no issues. Get up to the light. Light turns green. Keep going, but with that not being able to shift back into first gear. I say, okay, I'm gonna just go around the block and go back home. I'm not going to Napa. I mean, follow along with the ride of that. So if you're paying attention, in the last second you just heard the pop and bang. That was my transmission locking first and reverse together, so locking up my transmission. And this is where I end my test drive, broken down in the driveway. Alright, so after that, I had to get my Suburban back to its parking spot. So I had to pull off the driveline. I hooked up my come along from a tree to the left there to the rear end of my Suburban with the J-hook, and I used my come along to pull it back up. Well, here we go. So as you saw in the last clip, my truck broke right over there in the corner. What happened is transmission signals are quite worn out, so when I put it in reverse that last time, it also locked in the first gear, which caused the transmission to bind and lock up. Therefore, it was stuck there. And that's a major issue because if I happen down on the road, I'm stuck there. I gotta pull the truck back, roll it however I can in order to get it freed up. But after I showed you the video, I come along and back up in here, back to the parking spot. I'm actually able to shift it now, and it's all freed up again. As you saw in the last clip, my truck broke down right over there in the corner. So, she's not going to be a daily. Because what happened was the transmission, the synchros in it, are quite worn out, so that left the first gear transmission when I put it in reverse that time to lock together and seize the transmission pretty much. Which why I had to disconnect the drive line and then pull it back with the come along. So in order to repair that, I had to pull the transmission out and rebuild it, but that is nothing major to do, so I'll be holding off on that for now, and that's getting back to my Cougar next week. So thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Until next time, thank you again.